Welcome to the Author Blurb podcast. I'm your host, Eric Maynard. Today, I'm talking with Wendy Baker. I had a fun conversation just listening to her tale, learning about her memoir, the book that she wrote, My Name Was Mushroom. It's an amazing tale from what it sounds like in our conversation, from the information I've read about the Source family, which is what she talks about. It sounds like an amazing story to hear. I know I'm using the word amazing a couple times more than I should, but that's kind of the feeling I got from talking with her. I hope you enjoy the conversation. I hope you find value in all the authors we talk with. But with Wendy, it's a very intriguing way of looking at life from what was considered communes back in the 70s. Now, if you don't know what a commune is, it was basically a group of people getting together and living a specific way outside of what society considered the norm. She discusses the things about the program that made it where it's not a cult. So she avoids that premise there. But at the same time, she goes through and discusses the good, the bad, everything that was involved in it, and brings exciting information to your attention that you can find in her book. So enjoy the show. Enjoy our conversation. Hopefully, you find it as exciting as I found the conversation myself, and you go out and buy her book. Because, well, every author, of course, loves you buying their book. Now, I'd like to just wrap up a few things before the interview like normal. I want you to know that, as always, I'm trying to do my best to get things to make your life better, for you to find better authors. So I have at least one review already recorded. I'm about to do a second review, and these are done by just me. And I have a list of books I'm going to be reviewing that I think will be interesting in different genres. So the best way to find out about these reviews is either subscribe. You can go to authorblurb.com and find wherever you prefer to subscribe. Your favorite podcast player. If you want to go and visit the podcast on my website. If you want to do many things, I will get everything the way I can to give you what you want. You can also go to YouTube, Rumble, and I think the video's in another 3 places, but I don't remember. Sorry. I do try to put them out everywhere I can, get you the information, the shows, any place you can want to find them. Now, with that being said, if you have any suggestions or any books of the authors I've spoken with that you want to hear a review about, go to the website authorblurb.com. You can either shoot me an email through the Contact Us page, or you can leave me a voicemail through the little widget on the front page, or should be on all pages. It's being produced through a company called SpeakPipe. You can send me that voicemail, say, hey, I love the interview with so-and-so. I would love to hear a review about their book. And if I can, I'll get you that review. Other than that, enjoy the show. That's where we're at currently. Like I always say, I'm trying to improve, trying to grow, and trying to give you more so you find that author that you really love. So take the time, enjoy the show, and all else, go to authorblurb.com. You can find a profile on me, your author, or your host. I am an author, but find me on there. You can find all the authors I've spoken with, and even the ones that are scheduled to come up. So, and on their profiles, you will see the videos as well of our interview. So hopefully that gives you more information to help you decide what authors you love. That's my goal. Other than that, let me know what you think. Share, review, tell somebody, tell everybody. Prefer you tell everybody. More people that find out about the show, the more the authors get discovered, and the more you can talk to your friends about different books. Because, well, books are so much better to talk about than politics. Just my opinion. Other than that, enjoy. Thank you for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. So I'm here with Wendy Baker. We're here to discuss her book, which sounds interesting, especially if you look into the Source Family Commune. Her book is My Name Was Mushroom. The source, let me get this correct just because it deserves it. My My name was Mushroom. My life as a teenager runaway in the Source Family Commune. Now, Wendy, before we get into this, like I tell everybody, it's always better for the author to give a bit of information about yourself and your book. So if you can do that, I'm definitely looking forward to talking with you because from what I've looked at, like I said, it sounds like it was a wild time in the Source Family Commune.
Yeah, that would be summing it up pretty correctly. It takes place in the 70s.
Hmm.
And in the 70s, was a wild time. It was the hippie movement, the love-ins, and then the communes popping up everywhere. Everyone protesting against the Vietnam War. It was definitely a crazy time. People grew their hair really long. And I mean, everybody, not just me as a child or as a youth, but the grandparents, the parents, growing your hair long and letting it out, wearing cut up jeans, wearing psychedelic tops, just it was an incredible movement at the time.
All right.
I was young when the movement started. I was probably 12 years old when it all started. And then in the heat of it, or the heart of it, I was 14.
Okay. Now, where, how old were you when your book starts taking place?
Well, it does start taking place when I'm 12,
Okay.
but the commune experience starts from the age of 14 to 19.
All right. So you were there from 14 to 19. Were you there when the hang gliding accident happened, or were you there? Because if I'm thinking correctly from the research, there was a hang gliding accident with the leader, and that caused his death, which was what then led to the dissolve or the breaking up of the commune, from how I understand it.
Well, when he decided to go hang gliding in Oahu off of Makapu Cliffs, which is in the highest mountain peak that you can hang glide off, and
Hmm.
it's really only supposed to be hang gliding for experts. And he had never been hang gliding before. I was not with him when that happened. I was on the Big Island of Hawaii in Hilo when it happened. He was only there with a few people, mostly his councilwomen and a couple of the men. And we didn't really know about it until after the incident already happened. So that was a year before the family dissolved.
Okay. Now, help me understand, or at least help other people who are not familiar with the Source Family Commune. What was it? Because it started off, if I'm not mistaken, by a guy named Jim Brown or Jim
Baker,
Baker,
who's
who
my
came,
father-in-law.
okay, who originally came from Cincinnati, Ohio, which I'm originally from Ohio as well. So that gave me kind of ooh, this is a little more interesting. Then he ended up just starting a restaurant in California. And then from there, everything started developing and taking place, correct?
That's correct. Well, the story about Jim Baker is a whole story in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in fact, I plan on writing a book about him. But yes, he moved from Cincinnati, Ohio to Hollywood, California. He met his wife there, who is my husband's mother.
All right.
Um, a lot of stuff happened. He opened up the first health food restaurant, gourmet house called the Aware Inn. He opened up the Old World, which the Old World there was a chain of them in California. And then he opened up the Source restaurant, which was the first and only all vegetarian restaurant in California. So
All
I
right.
met him originally. I met him through my through Bart Baker, his son,
Hmm.
and at that time he was just Jim Baker and his father and owning a restaurant.
All
And then
right.
yeah, so things changed, a couple years after that meeting.
All right. Now, the one thing that I did find interesting is the Source restaurant was also extremely popular in the Hollywood circle with,
Yeah.
like, I forget some of the big names I heard that would
So
attend it, but
The Beatles went to the Source. That one morning they drove up in a limo and out walks, George Harrison, Paul
hmm.
McCarthy, John Lennon, and the only one that didn't come was Ringo. But they ate there pretty regularly when they were in town. Um, a lot of famous musicians ate there, a lot of movie stars. It was like the happening in plays.
All right,
For
and there was actually a scene shot there, and was it
Yeah, with
Woody
Woody
Allen's
Allen.
movie?
Yeah, the Woody Allen movie was shot on the patio of the restaurant, and
Right,
it's pretty famous. That little scene. I was there
right.
for that, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I got
So,
to witness that whole thing.
well, that's always an interesting and fun event to see.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so how did you end up? So you knew the family, the Baker family, before they started the commune and started growing the way they did, correct?
Well, that's correct. So Jim Baker and Elaine Baker got a divorce,
All right.
and for many reasons. And he had a girlfriend named Robin, who became his wife, and they were following Yogi Bhajan. And so it was, basically just a normal life at that point. I wasn't, involved with anything at that point. Then at some point, Jim Baker decided to leave the Sikh religion and leave following Yogi Bhajan and start his own um, religion, spiritual scene.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there from the very beginning when it first started. Um, it was, he transformed it into a commune, but it was like not like a quick process, but it happened over several months. And then we became a family, like a commune. I call it
Okay.
a family. I know that the industry calls it a commune and some people call it a cult. So
Mm-hmm.
it's what you could call it what you want, but it basically was over 150 people living together and trying to create a natural environment in which to raise children and to live peacefully and spiritually.
All right. Now, what help me understand? And like we both have already acknowledged, this took place in the 70s. What was the title of your book? I was Mushroom, or my name was Mushroom. Was your name actually Mushroom, or because back then people were calling themselves by multiple things and renaming themselves? Was that just a name you went by, or did you actually? Where did that come into play?
So when you join the Source family, you get a number, the number in order of when you actually officially joined, and you get a spiritual name. And it was Jim Baker, Father Yod at the time, that gave you the name.
All
So
right.
my first name, I had four names in the Source family. My first name was Lila for 2 weeks. Then my next name was Nirvana, and I was Nirvana for about a year. And then when you read the book, something happens in the story that, I don't want to give away too much because I would like you to read the story. But basically, when I joined the family, my mother did not approve, and she took me to court, and there was a whole court scene, and it didn't turn out very well. And so at some point later on in the story, I got the name Mushroom. And why
All
did I
right.
get that name? Well, there's a little story behind it. We were in Hawaii and
Mm-hmm.
we all hiked down to the waterfalls and we ate mushrooms. And at that time, That was the thing to do. It was a psychedelic, and I apparently had quite a high in experience. And this is not my personality at all, but
Okay.
I definitely had a performance. And at the time, his name was Yahowah, and he renamed me Mushroom, which was an unusual name to get in the Source family because they were mostly beautiful names like Blessing and, you know, Aom and Makushla, pretty names. But I
Right.
got the name Mushroom. So I decided to name the book. My name was Mushroom. I was that name for probably over 3 years.
Okay.
So a lot of my story is about me being Mushroom.
Okay. So help people understand what your book starts off with you at 12. If
Correct.
I'm opening your book, am I taking a journey starting off when you were looking, because it says you're a teenage runaway. Were you just considering running away at that point, or did you already run away once the story starts in your book?
No, I did not run away when the story starts. I started the book like that because it gives a background of how I met Jim Baker.
All right.
I met him, when he was just Jim Baker, and his son introduced me to him, and we were dating at the time. I know that sounds strange. I was only 12, but I grew up in West Hollywood, and
Right.
everything was advanced. We were way fast, everybody. I mean,
All right.
drugs, sex, music, rock and roll, protesting. It started happening at my young age of 12.
All
So
right.
that's what the book starts off just like that. And then
All
it
right.
leads into, it segues into, okay, so I met him. No, I did not run away at 12. I didn't run away until I joined the family when I was 14.
Okay. So then what kind of things do you discuss in your book that happen in the Source family? What things, I mean, it's your story. Do you focus strictly on your happenings, or do you talk about things that happen with other people as well?
Well, I tried to stick to me. I tried to write the story through the eyes of a youth. My experience and what I went through in this commune, as a young person. Most of the people in the family were older. They were at least 18 and up. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's a big difference from 14 years old to 18 years old.
Yes.
So it's a different depiction of what life was like through my eyes. I tried not to involve what other people's experiences were because that's their own private experience.
Mm-hmm.
But my experience alone was so wild and so amazing that I felt compelled to write about it. I had many different things happen uh, to me during the whole 5 years or 6 years, and those things did not happen to anybody else.
All right. Now, what, I guess, what kind of person do you expect to kind of find your book and get interested in it? Because not every book is meant for everybody.
That's correct.
So, like, for me, I'm never going to pick up a romance book personally, whereas I know plenty of other people that love them. So, as that being an example, who do you tend to believe would really enjoy and benefit from your memoir?
So I've thought about this a lot, and I think teenagers would like it because they'd have no clue of what we went through. I
Right.
think my generation, the 60-year-olds plus, to relive that experience. I think any person that has had a traumatic experience in their life um, would maybe want to read it because I came out okay. I've, recovered. I'm doing great. I'm successful. I've
Hmm.
been married for 44 years. I have 3 children. People have experiences in their lives that might define them for the rest of their life. And I'm hoping that this book can give them an opportunity to heal and to know that you don't have to be the person with that trauma or that experience and stay that way. You can come out of it, make a choice, and be okay. So I'm
All right.
thinking that genre of people, would enjoy reading my book, and it's quite exciting. If you like memoirs, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely exciting. It's a nonstop movement book journey that I've taken. So I would think that would be my market. However, I've had a lot of emails and correspondence from people of all ages, including men,
Mm-hmm.
that have thoroughly enjoyed it and asked me a million questions.
Right.
So that would be my guess who would buy the book.
All right. So, what can you give any examples of some of the events or some of the circumstances that happen in your book that might draw people's interest?
One that comes to mind right now would be the fact that there was a good amount of us that were young, underage, and the authorities were questioning Jim Baker of the underage girls that were not going to school and that had run away from home or left home.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were checking into it and maybe investigating him. And within a 5-minute notice at a meditation class, he says, we're all going to pack up and move to Hawaii. And so nobody questioned it. And basically, we sold the restaurant and
Mm-hmm.
we all packed up, and it was about 150 of us, including children and just everybody. And we packed up and moved to Hawaii. I mean, who does that? It was crazy.
Right. Which is, I mean, one, living on Hawaii, imagine would have been a beautiful thing. But like you said, just to pick up and move from the continental United States to Hawaii, which is still part of the United States, but it's a much different environment than the rest of the United States from what I've understood of it. A
Yeah, I'll say,
beautiful landscape and all this.
yeah, like when we first arrived, people, I think we went to Maui first. Maui was more of a hippie hangout, so it was we were a little bit everywhere. So it was difficult to find property for all of us to live. It was difficult for us to find work and, to build a financial, stable situation. The worst island of all of them, we actually moved around because we couldn't find the right fit. So we
Right.
went from Maui, then from Maui we went to San Francisco. That was a total nightmare, total disaster. We were homeless for over 30 days. 100, and I had a baby at that point. I mean, it was crazy times. And then when we went to Kauai, I mean, they basically, they wanted us off the island. They did not, they associated us with the the hippie beach people, and we weren't. We were nothing near that like that, but we were literally chased off that island on
All
Kauai.
right.
Yeah, they didn't like us.
All right. Now I know there was another, I guess, another commune or another group that was there at the same time as you guys, from what I understood that kind of caused conflicts with you. Is that mentioned in your book, or was that
Well,
not something you experienced?
no, it's in the book. It was unbeknownst to me at the time that I lived there. It was a group of, it really wasn't, I don't even know if you can call it a commune, but it was a large group of hippies.
Mm-hmm.
They were living on the beach and they were getting high all the time. They were heavily into drugs. They had children running around naked, and they were not clean, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
And we were nothing like that. They had no money. They were living off the welfare. And I found out later that's who they were associating us with. But at the time, we didn't know who they were talking about.
Okay, so because of their experiences and what they did is what affected where you guys were able to get into and be able to get involved with.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Now, what was it like actually, just as a summary? Because obviously, if somebody wants to know what it truly was like, they need to read your book. But what what kind of feeling did you get from living there? Because, and forgive me, don't take this the wrong way, but when the research I've done, like you said at the beginning, some people considered it a cult, some people called it a commune, some people called it other things. It it seems like it would have been very confusing, like I said, a very wild time. What was the feel from inside the family, the Source family, that drew you in and kept you part of that group?
Well, this is my favorite question. I love this question.
Hmm.
So, what initially drew me in was I came from a very um, dysfunctional family, and there was lots of yelling and arguments, and I mean, it was just not a fun place to live. And when I went to the family, it was everybody was so positive. Um, the atmosphere was so light and happy and beautiful. There was lots of love going on. The music that was flowing throughout the property was amazing. We had our own musicians, our own music. I escaped from all the drugs. There was no drugs in the
All
Source
right.
family. The only drug that we did was in the morning meditation. Would have one hit of marijuana before we would start our meditation class. That was our drug. So I escaped the whole drug scene. It was organic, vegetables, healthy eating. It was all vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
The recipes were amazing. That we did fasting for cleansing the body. There was a lot of nutritional avenues to the family, which I loved. I vibed to a lot. I loved the singing too. I mean, we would sing like from morning till night. So much going on. I love that we all wore white and only white.
Mm-hmm.
The women wore dresses mostly, skirts, tops, dresses, and we looked like goddesses. It was so pretty. And the men wore white also. We wore Birkenstock sandals, sometimes moccasins. We even made our own moccasins. We had our own loom. We made our own belts. Um, it was it was just like a whole nother world on a whole nother planet. And I loved the teachings of Father Yod at the time, and I loved the meditation classes and the yoga and the hatha yoga. I mean, need I go on? Like it just, if you can envision it, it was just a beautiful experience.
Right. So, with that, how much of it from your experience did you actually carry on through life? Did you hold on to all the teachings? Do you still practice a lot of stuff? Or did a lot of it kind of drift away to the point of you found value in it, but it's no longer useful in today's world?
Well, that's another really good question. I'm going to say that today, right this minute, the few things that I continually have done is meditate,
Mm-hmm.
yoga, the breathing yoga, hatha yoga. I use that a lot in my practice. I'm not a vegetarian. I believe I'm more of a Mediterranean diet.
All right.
I don't do that. I don't wear white clothes only white, although I know I'm wearing white. Maybe I wear it more than I know. I don't know. But no, I don't. I'm not dressing like that anymore. Um, I don't smoke marijuana. I
All right.
haven't since then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's so many practices that I did not take with me. I just took the few things that I enjoyed and incorporated in my everyday life. Not many. I did like a lot of his teachings about marriage
All right.
and raising children. My children were raised very healthy, no
Mm-hmm.
sugar, no processed foods, and they didn't like it. When they were young, the minute they would go to someone else's house, they would say, "Do you have any Fruit Loops?" Do you have any, just candy, sugar, but I basically did raise them like that. And today most of my children live like that. So that might be it. I don't practice to the level that we did in the Source family. I know I'm connected with a lot of family members, and I'm going to say a good percentage still practice that way.
All right.
Yeah.
So here's one thing that, like, I've talked to people that's written memoirs, and the one thing I've tended to find is when they start writing it, they have a thought or a process in mind. They have, this is the message I'm trying to get out. And as they write, they tend to realize or remember things that was not so clear at the time they started, or they learn a lesson from their past that they completely forgotten. Was there something when you wrote the book that you learned either a new lesson from your past you didn't realize, or it brought out a memory or taught you something that you just didn't realize at the time?
Interesting that you say that. I think I blocked out a lot of things while I was
Hmm.
writing the book, and we actually interviewed probably 25 family members, and they would tell me stories about things, and I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. So they stirred up my memory of events that took place. I'm not going to say that everything's completely accurate in order of
Hmm.
what we went through, because, like, once again, I tried to stick to writing the book through my eyes. And later, people would come back to me and say, well, no, this happened first, and then that happened, and then, oh no, this didn't. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's not about, being perfect, that perfect timeline. I'm just getting the story out. It stirred up just a lot of memories of things that happened that I probably wanted to forget.
Right.
So I wrote about it and researched it, and it was emotional. It was intense to remember some of those things. The lessons that I may have learned. I mean, if I had to do it all over again, I think, I don't know if I would have run away. I think I would have stuck it out and, finished school, gone to college, and done that whole routine. But
Right.
instead, my high school was spiritual boot camp. That's what I chose. That must have been my path. I must have needed to do that. I do believe it made me a better person.
Understand.
Yeah.
And that sounds like it's a powerful message in itself. So, what, I guess, what do you find the biggest thing you hear from people that you said multiple people has reached out to you,
Mhm.
giving you messages, asking you questions? Do you feel like the people are asking questions that you left unanswered, or do you feel people are just asking questions because they want to know more about the family that you didn't discuss, topics and things like that?
Some of the questions I get the feeling like they think I've left things out, that there's more to the story. Um, I don't think so. I think that I've told the story exactly what I experienced. I mean, I'm sure you can make up and create, oh no, I wonder if this really happened or that, I pretty much told the story as what really happened. Um, I get questions all over the board. I mean, I've been in book clubs, I've
Hmm.
done book signings. I mean, some of the questions are so off the wall. It's almost like they want something worse to have happened, or they want me to have experienced like some sort of abuse or, something terrible. And, and it didn't happen that way. So I really wrote what happened.
Right. Well, I guess that could also be from at least from my understanding, is when people think of like the cults and the communes and the big groups from the 70s and 80s, people kind of relate them to like the different groups you see nowadays, which are very not if they say they're spiritual, it doesn't seem like it's a positive spiritual thing, kind of like more violence, more controlling, things like that. And the Source family, from what I've learned of it, was very focused on the spiritual, like you said, but also it was taking rock and roll and the whole do what's best for you and things like that to the next level compared to what it was at that time for the 70s.
Well, I think that we started off like that, but I do think that it started to take a turn. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he had 12 women.
Mm-hmm.
That's, that was an ordeal, a drama in itself. And then he was letting the men have more than one woman because he did. And it
Right.
started to turn into like this whole sexual thing with, you know, multiple women with one man. Not in
Mm-hmm.
every case, but in a lot of cases. I think it started to evolve into not so good. I don't think we could have continued on realistically the way we were going. Not that it was a negative, but it was, we're not polygamists. I think it works in some religions, but I don't think it's sustained in normal everyday life. I'm not
Right.
so sure we would have been able to continue on with that practice, but we did go off on some tandems of, sexuality and, um, some weird stuff. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know how
I
else to explain it.
understand. You kind of took my next question from me on that one because I was going to say, did you see it lasting longer if the hang gliding accident didn't happen? Because there was a lot of things where, like you said, multiple women and things started going a little bit more extremes to from when they originally started from what I've read. So what if you kept going, did you have a prediction of where it would go, or did you think that anything could have happened in that sense?
Well, for me and my psyche and the way I, evolved,
Right.
I would not have been able to stay.
All right.
I think I stayed there for the love of Yahowah. I'm I would like to think I would have left because I started to want more in life.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to go to school. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be part of society. I wanted to lead a different life. It was all too intense,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to think I would have left. However, not 100% sure. I might have stayed throughout the whole entire process. I'd like to think that he would have, there's a lot of change ups in the way we do things. I would like to think he would have changed back to, not having so many women per man. I mean, the man that I was with throughout
Mm-hmm.
the whole family, it was me and another woman,
All right.
and I don't think I could have done that continually.
All right. Well,
Just that, yeah. I grew up.
right, which makes perfect sense there. So, what was, I guess, what was it that actually I really don't know how to ask the question that I'm thinking of. It just sounds really weird in my head. So,
The whole thing is weird.
it really is. I mean, like I said, it sounds like it was an exciting time and doing it as a young person, we all do a lot of things when we're younger. And but it was also it wasn't like most cults or cults where once you join you cannot leave, and if you try to leave they bring you back. You, from what I understood, you could come and go as you pleased, correct?
Well, I know some people did that, but you could leave if you want to leave. I mean, he was not like making you stay. In other
Right.
words, if you stayed, you had to be 100% in. I mean, he
All right.
wasn't, if you were not 100% in, basically you were asked to leave. And
Okay.
that did happen quite often. But there was a control issue there. Um, we were sleep deprived. You
All
know, we
right.
had to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, start
Mm-hmm.
exercising, jump in a cold pool or ocean,
Right.
go meditate. And, you know, I was always tired and, never got enough sleep. And food was not, by the time we got to Hawaii, there wasn't a lot of food. So we
Mm-hmm.
were hungry too. So it was difficult to have the energy, I think, to leave. But you could leave, and people did leave. Some of them left and never came back, and some left and then came back. So they said
Okay.
when you leave the commune, they called, and you go back into society, they called that the Maya. So
Okay.
it was always a big thing, like, oh, you're leaving us and you're going into the Maya, like into the bad place, you know.
Right.
Now for me, I couldn't leave, and you know, if you read the book, you'll know why. I
Right.
basically had to stay, and but I also stayed because I wanted to. I didn't feel captive by any means.
All right.
Um, but I did have, when I left, it was a little dicey.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you left, did your husband leave with you, or did he leave later?
Okay, let's make this really clear. I
Mm-hmm.
was never married
Okay.
to the man that I was with, okay?
Okay.
You know, nobody really got married legally, you know what I mean?
Okay.
I didn't even have a ceremony actually.
All right.
But I was with the same man almost the entire time. Not 100%, but 80% of the time. I was
Mm-hmm.
with a man named Starman,
Okay.
and we had a daughter together, but we never did marry.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Now
no, we
you're
did not leave together.
okay. So now you're married with it was Bart. Bart is your husband now, correct?
Correct.
Was he part of your life at the commune then, or
No,
how did that kind of work out?
no, he never joined the commune.
Okay, he stayed outside of it.
Right. It was his dad that ran the commune, and they were divorced, his mom. So no, he never did join.
Okay. So it sounds like it was extremely adventurous, lots of different things that happened, and sounds like a story that almost everybody that would probably get into it, or at least the majority of people. So let me ask this. If somebody wanted to find your book and reach out to you, where do you prefer them to go? Because I have all the information of you gave me on your profile on authorblurb.com, and there's links in the show notes to get to that. Where do you prefer people to reach out to you?
Well, they reaching out to me, they could reach out to me through Instagram or my Facebook or my email, which
Hmm.
you have all that.
Right.
Um, to buy the book, it's mostly in stores that I'm aware of in California, also Washington and some Oregon. Um, I would love people to buy the book at a bookstore.
Right.
However, they would have to go into the bookstore and ask them for it, and then the bookstore has access to get my book.
Okay.
So it's in a lot of Barnes and Nobles here in California and lots of independent stores. But the majority of my sales are coming from Amazon,
Hmm.
and it comes in the form of audio, Kindle, hardback, and paperback. My God, we're
Perfect.
getting the biggest downpour right now. Like it's like
Well,
a storm right now. I've never seen it like this.
I'll tell you what. How about this then? Before it gets too bad, we'll end the conversation for everybody else, and we'll talk a little bit more. If you can hold on for me a second, I'd
Sure,
be
no
quite
problem.
appreciative.
Yeah, no
Thank,
problem.
thank you. I'm glad you made it this far to the end of the show. I hope you've enjoyed it, because that's what it's all about. I'd also like to suggest that you take the time and go find the other authors that are here. Find that author that you're going to love and you're going to want to share. It's all about the authors, and that's why I'm here. Now, if you enjoy the show, I'd like to ask you to do me a favor. If you think it's worth it, go to the website, authorblurb.com. You can donate money, donate crypto, buy me a cup of coffee. things like that that helps me support keeping the show going. Right now, I don't do anything to try to delay, add, distract you. Everything's out of my pocket, and everything is meant to make authors be able to grow their audience and grow your attention. So, as always, thank you for being here. I hope you come back for the next show. And again, take the time, explore authorblurb.com. There's a lot there that you will be very happy to take the time to enjoy. And as final note, rate, review, shoot me an email through authorblurb.com. That way you can at least let me know what you think. I'm happy to always see reviews and hear what you think. Thank you. Have a good day.